it ends there. Then most times when you're trying to also give like feedback, our coach becomes, I don't know, irritated. So most times I was like, you know what, do you let's whatever I can grab, I will grab, and then I move on. We had lots of issues, especially me personally. I don't know about others, right? Trying to also ask questions. It feels like you are at fault for asking questions. So that was it for me, basically. And you know me personally. Things irritate me easily. That was that.
Now I don't believe my possibility one day. Okay. All right. Ado, first of all, let me even ask. Ado, you sure you dey come class? Because I know you are coming class, no be friends.
So sometimes
What percentage of class did you attend in Excel?
I think this the last class that we had was the first class I had.
I did
Excel.
not
I
ask
was
you that.
about to rate Adore myself.
I did not ask you if you are first in class. I said, how many classes do you attend?
And just one. Okay.
You only
The last
attended one class in Excel.
yes.
Me and you get up first. You can mute your mic. Henry, you know your case is different.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
I
your
get.
case is different at all. Me and you get up. You're not supposed to be, you're not even supposed to, you don't even supposed to get mine. Tell me, say, now one class you attend. But I'm coming back to you. That one is a private matter. Henry, talk to me.
Yeah, sick. I'm
Henry, I
listening.
can't hear you. Talk to me.
Um, what's the question actually? As regards Excel.
Yes, how was the
Okay.
class? How did it do? What and what are your observations, your challenges? Just tell me. Vamos con ese.
Uh, all right. I would say it was fair enough, but um if I'm being precise or have to go in details, I would say as regards the classes and our instructor, he is more focused on getting the exercises done more than us understanding the actual essence of the exercises. Just like certain concepts you would want us to use in getting certain exercises done, but then we really need to understand it theoretically first. I feel knowing the basics of things would help you know when to apply them in real world, like in reality. So, and most of the times when you ask questions, I'm trying to be honest. He responds in a defensive way more than clarity. So that's my observation as regards the way the instructor handles the classes. But then it's been good so far. But most of the times, I just have to make out time, go on YouTube to make some research. And like I've had a conversation with you before, sometimes the methods they use in certain YouTube handles doesn't tally with the way we have it in our classes. So it contradicts what you already know or the foundation you have in the class. So sometimes it's very difficult to figure out certain pages that go by the same route we've been taught in class. So that's a challenge as well.
Okay? All right. Nathaniel, this one you're in a noise place. Can you actually speak?
He sent his response on the chat.
Okay, he sent his response on the chat. Okay, let me see. The Excel class was okay. I also don't think it's necessary we have to respond to every "are you following" with voice response. It slows me down personally. Emojis can do. All right. Okay. Just let me pity Christian. Christian, you can unmute your mic and talk. You're not supposed to talk, but maybe I just talk.
Okay, sir. Uh, I really think it was a great opportunity for me personally. Understand? I I learned Excel on another style. Understand? And the our coach, he tried his best, and I think he did a nice job. It's not easy to teach. Understand? So everything is great, sir. I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to be okay because you've done it. I've taught you Excel personally, like from start to scratch, from scratch to advanced. So I don't really I don't really expect you to have any issue.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. All right. Um, so the thing is, first of all, I'm going to first of all start by apologizing to you guys for all your bad experience, and also uh, if you have any good experience, kudos to you. And for the bad experience, I want to say I want to apologize. The thing is, different instructors have their own way of teaching. Do you understand? So the thing is one thing to know something, and it's another thing to be able to communicate it to the way everybody is going to understand. Now, some people might understand, whereas some people may not be able to understand. And that doesn't take away the fact that you don't know that you know that stuff, right? You know it. But maybe the way you are relaying it to someone else, person may not be able to get it. So, but like I told you guys, the remedy now, let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about the problem. Now, the solution is first off for the Excel class. Um, there is an opportunity for you guys to actually at least merge everything that you've learned, the ones that you've not learned, everything. I am going to I'm going to make sure that I give you guys the best internship training that should start from October. Yeah, run through October. So during the internship training, I'm going to try as much as possible to make sure that I give you guys a solid background, not just the background, but the experience you need for you to be a good data analyst with Excel, right? So it's going to be more of like a practical training, not theoretical, not coming and telling you, oh, this is how to do, this is how to use VLOOKUP, this is how to use this is how to use that. So it's going to be hands-on practice, right? So by the grace of God, we are going to start that in October so that everything that you've not learned, the ones that you've learned, you can understand and practice how to make good use of it, especially in this field, because data analysis is more of a practical course than theoretical. It's more of an analytical mindset course. Like you need to have that mindset of a critical thinker before you can actually become a good data analyst. You understand? So that one I know how to solve the problem, and we are going to solve that problem next month by the grace of God, right? So that one you guys should just understand that it's the pattern of teaching that is not really conducive and effective for you guys. So um, I'm going to I'm going to talk to him, and moving forward, I would see how we improve in SQL and Power BI. So, but then again, um, for the SQL, you guys are going to start from the beginning in SQL. I don't care what you guys have learned in SQL. I've already told the instructor because I've watched a couple of videos you guys had on SQL classes. I think how many, 3 or 4 videos, I remember. But I took my time this morning before this class. I had to wake up very early, so I watched the videos. I deem it fit for you guys to start again. You roll back and start from the beginning. It's SQL. Anything that is worth doing is worth doing well. Hmm? That's my own, regardless of how much you pay me or whether you pay me or not. But is good that when you go out there, you say, "Oh, this guy taught me this stuff, and I actually understood it very well, and I'm actually using it." That has been the testimony of my students. I don't think I've actually taught any student that will come out and tell me that, or that will go out there and say, "Oh, Henry is not a good instructor, or Henry did not teach me the class." That's not correct. Just a minute, please. All right. So sorry for the break in communication. My mom is disturbing me this minute. I don't know what's her problem. So, um, like I said, we are going to roll back in SQL, and on that note, we are going to start it in this class. This time around, you guys are going to be using MySQL and not Postgres. So I've also communicated with the instructor to use MySQL Workbench and not Postgres, because MySQL is a more universally used tool. Postgres is basically used for we developers, especially um, when you're building some sort of applications. There are some applications you build and it works better with Postgres, especially when you're doing hosting with all these foreign companies. So, but that aside, Postgres is not that universally used. You mostly use Oracle and MySQL. So we are going to be using MySQL, and we are going to start the SQL from the scratch. Now, the reason why I jumped in at this point is because I know that my SQL is a very important tool when it comes to data analysis. And I don't want it to be haphazardly done. I want it to be done and done well, right? So I'm going to start the class today. I'm going to give you guys the proper introduction to SQL. I'm going to walk you through the process of downloading my SQL Server and Workbench. And I'm going to break down how this course is going to go. And the reason why I'm going to do this is so that if at any point in time, maybe the instructor is deviating from the outline, then you guys can call him and say, "Oh, we missed this part, we missed this part," at least politely, and he's going to understand. I believe so, right? And I don't see him as a stubborn person actually. So the outline is going to help in guiding him on what to teach next, also helping you guys to prepare. Maybe if you have other resources that you might want to go to, you can watch those resources and prepare yourself before class so that you have questions. See, one thing you should understand is if you ask questions in class, you're not just teaching yourself, you're also putting that instructor on their toes to prepare well for the next class. But when an instructor asks you, do you understand? And you don't say anything, just say yes. The person will just feel like, okay, this guy, the bare minimum, can go. But when you ask critical questions, even stupid questions are actually critical questions. That's the funny thing. When you ask questions and people feel like you're asking stupid questions, those questions are actually critical questions. Maybe not in line with what is being taught at that point, but they are critical questions. Do you understand? So I don't really see anything as stupid question, especially coming from the angle of the student. No question is a stupid question because that person wants to understand something and that's why they're asking. As an instructor, you should be able to humble yourself to teach even a mad person. That's it. Even a mad person on the street, if you have an opportunity to teach that person, you should be able to humble yourself to make sure that you follow the footsteps of that mad person and act like the mad person so that the mad person can communicate with you. You understand? So that's it. So now, without wasting much time, let's dive into it. By the grace of God, again, hopefully I should be able to handle this class because I'm in the process of relocating from where I'm staying now. So I don't know, maybe if I have chance, I might just handle this class for this week first. And make sure I give you guys solid background in SQL before it takes over. So, but let's see how it goes now, Sean. All right, so SQL. First of all, who knows the full meaning of SQL? Who knows the full meaning of SQL here? Does everyone know the full meaning of SQL? SQL is an abbreviation. Who can tell me the full meaning of SQL? Yeah, Henry, go on. Tell me the full meaning of SQL.
Structured query language.
Structured query language. Okay. Does anyone have an alternative meaning to that structured query language? Anybody? Or you guys agree with him that SQL is structured query language? If you all agree with him, give me a thumbs up. Okay, Leah agrees, you give me a thumbs up. All right, so that means everybody agrees. The thing is, as everybody agrees, me, I'm not going to disagree, even if it is wrong. I am not going to disagree. Even if it is wrong, I'm not going to disagree. If it is right, no problem. If it is wrong, no problem. But yeah, it is correct. So, structured query language is the language for database. So that means this course is centered on database and not SQL. SQL is a means to an end. SQL is a means to an end. What is the end? The end is being able to handle databases. Because as a data analyst, you need to, if you remember the process of data analysis, the what's it called? The project cycle, assuming you're doing a data analysis project, the project cycle, the life cycle, right, actually, starting from the data collection to the data cleaning, to the data manipulation, data exploration, data presentation, modeling, and visualization, then conclusion. I think some of you already know that here. Henry, you know that. Christian, you know that. Lydia, maybe you're hearing this for the first time. But yeah, data analysis lifecycle starts from data cleaning. No, it starts from data collection. You need to collect the data first. When you collect the data, you clean the data, you prepare it for analysis because you cannot do your analysis with you get dirty data and unclean data. So you move to data cleaning. After you clean your data, you now start exploring your data. That's when you start exploring trends in the data, trying to answer questions, analytical questions you have with that data. After you're done, then if there is any need for you to build models, then you can move over to data modeling. But if there's no need for you to build models, then you can move to the data visualization. So those results that you've gotten after you must have analyzed your data sets, those results are now presented because data that is presented is is better understood. When you present your data very well, you can understand it. Even a layman can understand your data, your analysis when you present it in terms of visuals. Do you understand? So data visualization, then finally the decision making. When you now present your data, your visualized data as your dashboards, when you present it to your stakeholders, they can easily understand the information that you're trying to relay to them, and they can make their effective decisions. So in all these processes now, you see the first thing is collecting the data. If you don't collect the data, you can't analyze, you can't do every other thing. And sometimes this data is not just situated in Excel workbooks. Sometimes it's also found in databases. Sometimes it's also found in websites. Do you understand? And that's the reason why you're learning all these tools. You're learning Excel so that in case situations where the data is situated in Excel, you know how to organize it first before you start your cleaning, right? If it is situated in a database, you know how to use your SQL. Like I said, it's a means to an end. You know how to use the SQL to go to that database and extract the exact data you need for that analysis using your SQL query. You extract the data you need for the analysis, then you can go on with the analysis. Also, if you have any results that you need to store in your database, you can also learn how to the query that would help you to impute data into that database. And if you're being hired as a data analyst and the company is, let's say, a startup, they are starting up their whole process. Maybe you're responsible for building a database. You also learn how to build the database, how to actually build that database, bring it to life, store data in it. Now, for clarity, teaching you how to build a database is not part of this program, but I'm going to add it just as a bonus to compensate you guys for everything. So you guys are going to also learn how to build databases, right? So next thing I'm going to talk about is, let's talk about how these database classes learn to go. In every database course, they are split into 4 parts. You can decide to write this, or maybe you can rewatch the video later, but database classes are split into four areas. And so is SQL. So is SQL. SQL as a language is split into 4 areas. There is a language called, under SQL, there's a language called data definition language. There is a part of SQL called, the second one is called, I think, data manipulation language. That's DML. DDL is the first one. DML is the second one, that's data manipulation language. The third one is data query language, which is the one that your instructor has started teaching you, data query language. Then the last one is data control language, DCL. So there is DDL, DML, DQL, and DCL. Now, in some other textbooks or in some other resources and videos, these 4 areas, you might see it as a different name. They might title it something different. Especially the control language, you might just call it security or something. But if you understand the meaning, then even if you see it in a different, rephrased in different text, you can understand, you certainly understand what it means. And you know that they are basically referring to the same thing. Now, definition language entails with the part of SQL that helps you to create and build the database. define the structures of a database, right? Create what's it called? Create ERDs, entity relationship diagrams, extensive entity relationship diagram, that's EERD. Put in the objects that should be in your database. So basically doing the architectural design of your database. That's DDL. After you do the architectural design, then you also move over to doing the physical model, which is actually producing that architectural design, bringing it to life using SQL queries. All these are under DDL, right? So DDL is anything that, all the language and concepts that helps you to define your database in terms of structure. And when you go to manipulation, manipulation is the part of SQL that helps you to manipulate that already existing database. Manipulating includes deleting records, updating records, inserting records, altering constraints, altering administrative rights. All these things are manipulative aspects of SQL. And there are certain tools, there are certain queries that can help you achieve all these manipulations. So you see, you have to learn how to define first, how to design. When you learn how to design, you go to manipulating. Then when you know how to manipulate, then you know how to query. Query is the part that helps you to extract records. It also helps you to run tiny data analysis before you even download the data. So you can actually do some tiny little data analysis with query before you can extract data. Do you understand? So DQL, data query language, helps you to query an existing data, extract already existing data from your database in different ways. You can extract data in so many ways. You understand? All those things you're going to learn it. Then the data control, that one is the area, the perspective of security, assigning administrative rights, assigning user rights, restricting some components and objects. That's basically adding some security layer to your database. Now, this part is not synonymous to data analysis. You don't really have any business with this part. Yeah, I don't have any business with this part. So even if you learn it, even if you don't learn it, I don't think there is anything that will warrant you to. But yet again, still going to teach you this. Yeah, even if it's not all, still going to teach you some part of this year, right? And the grace of God should do that. So this SQL class is going to follow this structure. Now, out of these four, the first three is compulsory. The first three is compulsory. You have to know how to design and define your database. You have to know how to manipulate. But maybe we are going to do query before manipulation, or maybe manipulation before query, whichever one. We're going to learn how to manipulate. We're going to learn how to query. You must learn these three parts before the end of this SQL. James, you're already here, so I believe you should follow what I'm saying. This class is going to be in these areas, in these sections. The first section is defining database, data definition language, how to design and define the objects of the database. Second is how to manipulate, data manipulation language, manipulating an already existing data, which includes altering, inserting, deleting, updating, and all those stuff. Then third one is data query language, how to query data that is existing in it. It's different ways of applying query. Then last one, which is not compulsory, optional, but I would love that to understand something. No problem. Nathaniel, you can watch the video later. So last one is data control language, which involves security, how to sign administrative rights and all this stuff. Yeah, that one is optional, but it will be good that they learn it as well. At least, even if it is 30 to 40% of that, it's no knowledge is a waste. All right. So now, before we go into these areas, there are some certain things that you guys need to understand in respect to database and SQL. Now, there is what we call management systems, and there is SQL. Management systems are companies that handle database as their business. Those companies offer you their services in form of database. They give you their services and give you access to their database, their cloud infrastructure. You can use it. Now, the only thing is that most of these companies or some of these companies actually have their own unique way of accepting SQL queries. So the base language is SQL. Like I said, it's the means to an end. Right? Now, the way that SQL is written in different management systems, sometimes it varies. Right? What are the management systems? The management systems include MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft Access. What's the other one? Postgres. There are so many of them. Postgres, MongoDB, Firebase. All these are administrations. These are administrative services. These are management systems, right? They are called management systems. And that's why you hear DBMS. DBMS is database management system. So if you're working as a data analyst, you need to decide the management system you want to use. But before that, you need to learn the SQL first before you now tailor it down to the management system. But what I always want to do is I want to tailor the learning part together with the management system. That's why I choose MySQL, which is the more universally used management system. So if for any reason you need to use Postgres in the future, 80% of the codes you're going to write in MySQL would also work in Postgres, would also work in Microsoft Access, would also work in Oracle. In fact, Oracle has merged with MySQL, so they are the same company now. But any other relational database. Now, coming to that relational database that I just mentioned now, what is a relational database? So we have concluded on the management system we are going to use, which is MySQL. Now, SQL database infrastructure as a topic or as a concept has two types. Please, I want you guys to understand the difference in everything I'm saying. I talked about management systems and I've mentioned the companies that manage database and their databases, right? Now, database itself as a concept is divided into two parts or has two areas, major areas, or two types. Number one is relational database. Number two is non-relational database. So you need to know these things, right? Relational database is a type of database that deals with data that are well structured, data that has the structure of a table. That is relational database. So relational database can only accept data that has the structure of a table, columns and rows. That is the primary characteristics of a relational database, the structure. A non-relational database is a type of database that deals with the structure of objects. I'm going to show you guys an example in a couple of seconds, right? But these are the two areas, relational, non-relational. And you know, the interesting thing about the relational database is that there are companies, these management systems, Mm, Most of these management systems actually operate a relational database. Example, MySQL and Oracle, they operate relational database. Postgres, relational database. What's the other one? Microsoft Access, relational database. Everybody here should have Microsoft Access on their computer. As long as you have Office tools, you have Microsoft Access. Which other one operates the relational database? I can let me try and remember. Okay, I've mentioned Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, MySQL. There's one we call MySQL Server, Microsoft Access. All these ones are operating and managing relational database. Then companies management systems like MongoDB, Firebase, those ones are GraphQL, those ones are managing non-relational database. Now, the nickname for that non-relational database, sometimes you will hear people say NoSQL. NoSQL is a nickname for non-relational database. It is nicknamed NoSQL because you don't need SQL to handle non-relational database. Non-relational database is like a user interface. You do pick and drop. You understand? You handle the data on the interface. You don't use SQL code to handle non-relational database. I'm going to show you the difference in the data in, in a short moment, right? But I want you guys to understand these concepts first, because this will help you to narrow down your learning to the resources that you actually need to learn what you need to learn. And if for any reason in the future you want to expand, you know what next that you want to expand to. Do you understand? So in summary, we talked about three things. First, we talked about how SQL as a language is divided into 4 sections and how we are going to follow those sections. Secondly, we talked about management systems, companies that handle databases. And lastly, we talked about the type of database that these companies actually manage, relational and non-relational. For the purpose of this course, we're only going to be learning relational database because relational database is peculiar to data analysis, right? Data analysts don't use non-relational database. Non-relational database are mostly used by developers, right? Especially when you're building a single page application or a single user application, something like that, you use non-relational database, right? Now, there are other types of database that may be classified under non-relational database. Those ones are cache memories. For example, when you go to your browser and you want to browse something, have you noticed that sometimes when you go to some websites, you key in your username and password, and after doing what you want to do on your profile, your dashboard, you just close your browser. You didn't log out, you just close your browser. And maybe you come back after a few minutes. You remember that you want to do something. You come back a few minutes, you get to see that you're still logged in. You are not actually logged out. Some websites actually do that. While some websites, when it takes to a certain number of hours or minutes, they automatically log you out. Now that section, that login section that you have been, that has been in play before you close your browser is actually cached in the memory. And that memory is a type of database. So when you're building applications, we also handle that structure, that cache memory, to be able to store cached files, images, and all this stuff. You understand? But these ones are peculiar to developers. You guys, this one, you don't have any business with it. So we are going to be focusing on relational database. Now, I've mentioned the primary reason why it's called the relational database, because of the structure. Next thing is because of how it is used. Relational database, if you look at the name relational, it means that the tables in the database, because like I said, the structure of the database is the structure of the table, right? The tables in the database can hold, the database itself can hold multiple tables. In fact, let me demonstrate what I'm trying to say. I'm going to share my screen now. If you can see my screen, give me a thumbs up. Everybody's giving me a thumbs up, so I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. Henry, you want to say something?
No, no, that was a mistake.
Well, can you see my screen? I'm presenting my my Microsoft Word. I want to show you guys what a relational database looks like in terms of structure. Pardon my diagram. Kind of weird. All right. Now, look at this outer box as the relational database. Then look at these inner boxes. These inner boxes, look at them as tables. These are tables, right? These are tables. And I told you that these tables have the structure of the way your Excel is structured, rows and columns, right? Like this. This is the structure here. This is how these tables are structured. When I show you guys this illustration, I'll still show you the actual database itself, so you get to see what I'm saying. So each of these tables, the unique thing about each of these tables is that they are going to hold individual, unique data. So look at this database as a database for wrong data. Look at this database as a database for wrong data. Wrong data has students, it has instructors, it has courses, and so on, right? So it's like a school, an institution. So what happens is that in this wrong data database, right, each of these tables will hold data concerning different individual areas in wrong data, or departments, or whatever, sections in wrong data. Maybe one table, this first table holds data about students, all my students here. Let's call this one students table. This one will hold data about, let's say, instructors, right? Then this one will hold data about, let's say, courses, right? This one, maybe this one will hold data about the grades of students, and so on. So individual tables will hold data separately about different areas for the organization. Now, this organization can be anything. It can be any company at all, a school, institution, bank, whatever, right? So these tables now have opportunity to be linked. You can link these tables. You may or may not link them, but the idea is that there's an opportunity to do what? To link the tables. And I'm not saying that all the tables must be linked. You decide the ones that you want to link. Do you understand? You decide the ones you want to link. But that opportunity to link these tables is why the name is called relational database. Relational database, because tables in the database are related. And I guess that's where you guys are now, because I think I asked Henry what you guys are doing now. Who did I ask what you guys are? See, you are doing join. That join is happening between the tables, because when you join your tables, then you can be able to easily query data from multiple tables. You understand? So instead of getting data from here, getting data from here, getting data from here separately, you can join the three of them and get the data at once. That is the reason why it is called relational. That's hence the name relational. So you see, the primary reason, the primary characteristics of these relational database is the structure. Then next characteristics is the relationship existing between the tables. You understand? These are the two major things you need to understand about the relational database: the structure and the relationships. Now, when you understand that the tables can be related and the structure of individual table is the structure of a regular table, then every other thing you can now learn it. You can now start learning, oh, since the tables can be related, how do I know the ones to actually establish those relationships? That is where you now start learning the definition. That's where you now start up the program. You now start learning the SQL itself. Why do I need to connect these tables? When do I need to connect these tables? And how do I need to connect these tables? The when, the why, and the how. All these things you're going to learn it in the definition, data definition language. When you start learning how to do EARD, entity relationship diagram, then you start understanding when to create relationships, how to create relationships, and why you are creating the relationships. But the primary goal is that there can, I'm not saying must, there can be relationships between the tables. And this is the whole concept about the relational database. Now, let's look at this thing. We've looked at this structure. Let's look at the practical area now. And I'm going to open my workbench. Do I still have workbench in the system? Okay. As much. Let's see where my workbench take loss. All right, so I'm going to open my SQL workbench. Please, I believe you guys can still see my screen, Abby. Please, I want to make sure that you guys are seeing my screen on. I'm about to open my workbench now. So this is what a workbench looks like. This is a MySQL workbench. And before the end of this class, everybody's going to have this workbench on their laptop. So I'm going to open a local instance here. Now, if you look here on the left, you see they are called schemas. Schemas in database design is referring to the database itself. When you hear schema, it means database, right? So don't get confused. Now, if you look at all these are schemas. These are different databases that are created. Some of these databases are actually live on several applications. Some of them are just for practice with my students, right? Now, if you see there's Amazon, AutoCAD, bowling, sequence, car dealership, Prezi Clinic, e-commerce, and so on. All these things are databases. Now, let me open Amazon database. I'm going to drop down Amazon database. Now, if I drop down Amazon database, you see that there are tables, there is views, stored procedures, and functions. You guys are going to learn what these are objects in the database. You guys are going to learn what these views, stored procedures, and functions, what they mean. James, take notes. Now, when you drop down this table, you're going to see all the tables that I have in this database. Customers table, other items, orders, product categories, products, and sellers. All these are tables in Amazon. Now, let's check out what we have in the customers table. I'm going to go here, this last icon. As you can see, it shows icon of a table. Let me view the content. Now, can you see? This is the content of that table. It has 4 columns and 1 row, just 1 row, 1 content, yes. The customer ID, the customer name, contact email, and contact address. Now, without viewing this structure, you can also view the content when you toggle down the table itself. So on this customer table, if I toggle down that arrow, I'll see all the words, objects in that table. There is column indexes, foreign keys, and triggers. But the ones you're going to focus on is the columns. What are the columns you have? These are the columns: customer ID, customer name, contact email, and contact address. So you know columns are the features of the data you want to store in this database. So look at it here. Customers. The data I want to store here is about my customers in Amazon, right? Now, what are the features of the customers? There should be a name of a customer, the email, the address, the ID, and so on. Those are classified as the columns. So the features of the data you want to store in the table are put in separate columns. Now, individual row represents the data itself, which in this scenario, the customers. So you can have as many customers as you want. Let's look at another database. I'm going to scroll down to SQL store. If I go to store, I go to tables. Look at the tables I have. Customers, orders, blah, blah, blah. These are the tables under the SQL store database. Now let's check out the content. First of all, let's check out the columns, the features we have in the customers. We have the customer ID, the names, the first name, last name, the birth date, the phone address, city, state, and points. These are the features of a customer in this database or in this table called customers. Now let's see the content, the rows. How many customers do you actually have? I'll now hover on these customers. When I hover on these customers, I go to the last icon, I click it, and I see all the customers I have. So I have 10 customers in the customers table. And individual column represents the features of that customer. So you see what I'm saying? This is the structure. The structure is the structure of a table, rows and columns. The columns represents the feature of the data you want to store in that table. Let me repeat it. The columns represents the features of the data you want to store in that particular table. The rows represent the individual data you are storing in that table. So you can have as many rows as you want. When you now go into more in-depth in definition, you now start understanding why there are null values here and all that, right? But for now, let's leave it at understanding the structure. So this is what the relational database looks like. It can have multiple tables, as many tables as you want, right? You can have as many tables as you want, but the table must hold individual specific data. You cannot, in one table, you'll be putting data about customers and data about employees in one table. No, it is wrong. When you start learning normalization, you understand why that is wrong, right? So every table should have a unique data. If it is data about customers, data about products, data about anything, just one specific area of that infrastructure you're building that database. So if that infrastructure or that organization has as many as 20, 30 separate areas, then as much table as you need to build. Do you understand? Because once you start combining data for different areas in one table, then it's no longer obeying the concept of the relational database. Do you understand? And you start having normalization issues. And you start denormalizing your database, which is stressful to do. So that is the concept, or this is the concept of a relational database. This is what you guys are going to learn. You're going to learn how to, first of all, create structures. Let me show you what I mean by architectural structure. Well, that's the first thing you need to do. James, again, take note of that. They are going to learn how to do ERD first. Look here, you can see that I separated it. DDL, DQL, ERD. They are separate. So look at an example of an ERD diagram. And you guys are going to be using draw.io. Again, I'm going to introduce all these tools in this class. This is what an ERD looks like. Let me go to the assignments of my students. Maybe this one. Let me use this one. This is what an ERD looks like. Now you can choose to draw this ERD like this, or you can choose to draw it like this. Let me show you guys another one. You can choose to draw it like this. This one is actually generated. This is the physical model. This is generated after you must have built and written the codes for the database. There is another one. Let me find one of them here should have that structure. Let me look for there's one particular ERD that I want to show you that. That's the one you guys are going to be doing. Let me find the one here. Okay, I think I know where to find one very fast. Let me go to here. Let me go here. I think I should be able to find one here. Maybe not. Let me go here. I think I should be able to find one here. Okay. Now, this is the one you guys are going to be drawing. Something like this. This is a conceptual model. See, these are tables. The line shows the relationships, right? Now, you guys are going to learn how to do this thing. And you're also going to learn how to move from that to having something like this. There are so many things you guys are going to learn. There's so many things you need to learn. You're going to move from having something like that to having something like you're going to move into having something like that to having something like this. There's one particular one that I want to make sure that I show you guys. To having something like this. I believe you guys can see my screen. This is called the logical model. Let me show you guys how it works. First off, you move from conceptual. You draw a conceptual model. After drawing the conceptual model, you move to logical model. After drawing this logical model, then you move to physical model. You don't need to draw this one. Your workbench can generate this one for you. But the ones that are compulsory is this one, the conceptual model, and the logical model. You have to draw this by yourself. Again, there is a loophole. Sometimes the conceptual model, you might maneuver this one by just writing down the tables and the relationship on paper. You write it down on paper. You don't need to draw it. Then you just move straight to this one. But when we go to definition language, I'm going to explain all those stuff for you guys. All right. So it's not a problem. But this one, this logical model is compulsory. You must, and you can't escape drawing this because this is what will help you to actually write the program, use the right SQL queries to define the structure. All these lines you're seeing here, they mean something. All these things you're seeing at the end here, they mean something, and you're going to learn it. All right. So this is what a relational database is all about. So it's not just learning how to query. You need to also learn all, because all these basic prerequisites are going to help you to be able to handle and have full control of your database. Right? So, does anyone have any question before I move on? Any question? Any question? All right. I suppose not. So, next thing we are going to do now is installation. You guys are going to install this workbench, right? Now, before the workbench, if you go to draw.io, this is the tool. This is the website we are going to be using for the ERD, entity relationship diagram. This is what the website looks like. You don't need to download anything. Just go to your browser, search for draw.io. It's going to open this, and you go ahead and start creating your diagrams. Now, there is an opportunity for you to save the diagram. Hold on. Let me see if I can start this from the scratch. There's an opportunity for you to save the diagram in your Google Drive, or you can save it in your system. right? But when we start putting down the diagrams, I'll start explaining. All right. So next thing is what these are going to be using for the they're going to be using for the entity relationship diagrams. Then on the part of installing the workbench, just go to your browser and search for my SQL. Search for my SQL server download. Check for my SQL server download. When you do it, it opens these links. There is MySQL Community Server 8.043. There is MySQL installer. Now, this community server is going to install just a subset component, but also the important ones. But I would suggest you guys go to MySQL installer. Download the installer so that when you are installing, you choose the services that you want to install. So if you download the MySQL, if you click on the MySQL installer, it takes you to this page. If you're on a Windows laptop, you don't need to change this. Just go ahead and download the first one. If you're on a Mac, you select, I think there should be an alternative operating system, but I believe everyone here is in a Windows. So you click on this download. When it downloads, let me see. I already have the two, so but when it downloads, the installation process, there are certain things that you need to select, important ones that you need to select. So who wants us to use their screen as a prototype for everybody to learn? Because I already have it. I can start. If I uninstall, some of my services are going to stop. Okay, Lillian, share your screen. Let's use yours as a prototype. I don't want to uninstall my workbench on my server. If not, some people will use code and finish me. So Lillian, share your screen. All right. Now, go to scroll down. Let me see. Seems like yours is different. No, MySQL. No, you type SQL. Change it to MySQL. MySQL server download. Yeah, click there. MySQL. Exactly. And search for that one. Correct. Now go to download MySQL installer. Please, everyone, pay attention. You do this later. If anybody is following, you can still follow. All right, then go to Windows. The first one, MySQL, the first download. Yeah, that one. Download it. It's not much. Okay, so it's going to open this page and require you to either sign up or log in, but you can ignore this, right? You can ignore it. Just click on no time. Start my downloads. So it's going to download. All right, as you can see, downloaded. It doesn't take much. So open the application. Let's install. All right, run it. All right, so this is going to load up all the tools, the total package of MySQL. Then we can decide the packages that we want to install. But then again, it's not bad if you install everything, but there are certain packages that are useful, and I'm going to explain each and every one of them, right? Okay, let's wait for this one to process. Shouldn't take much time. Okay, good. If you're following, then try to be on the same page. If not, you can watch the video later and use it to install yours. Okay. Lillian, you're not sharing your entire screen. Please share your entire screen so that they can see other things. Okay, you're sharing your entire screen. Okay, okay. I think yeah, I thought you're not. All right. So like I told you guys, MySQL has merged, the company has merged with Oracle. I think Oracle bought MySQL. I think MySQL bought Oracle. I don't know who by who. But all I know is that they are now the same. Optional MySQL installer upgrade available. Not apply the upgrade. Do you want to apply the upgrade? You can. You can go ahead and apply the upgrade. At least so you have the latest version of it. Let's give it a minute to upgrade the packages first before we can start installing. Okay. All right, perfect. So this page now is where everybody needs to pay attention. So click on next. Click on next. All right, now these are the packages. There is Server, Workbench, Shell, Documentation, Samples. In fact, there is even Router. Hmm? Now, Server is the most important one. This one is the one that gives you access to the MySQL server, like their cloud infrastructure. Workbench is what I just opened on my system. That's the user interface where you write your programs. Shell is the one that gives you some sort of interpretation between your workbench and your server. Documentation is like explanation of if you need to have documentation, if you want to read the documentation on how to use MySQL, you can. Then there is samples and examples, and already that one explains itself. So we are going to install everything. So click on next. Now these are the packages. So execute the command so that it starts installing each of them. So it's downloading each of the packages and it's going to install them right after the download. It's not going to take it more. It's not going to take long. So don't worry. Depending on how fast the network is, should be probably like 2 minutes. So the first one is almost done. Okay, first one is done. Last one is done. Second one should be done in a moment. All right, that one is done. Okay, that one is done, and the last one is shell. Shell also gives you opportunity to communicate directly, to write SQL programs directly on your command prompt. So you can actually communicate direct to your computer instead of through the workbench. You understand? And so it is, or remember, you choose an option to upgrade. So it's going to upgrade them after downloading. It's going to upgrade. Then it will install. Again, this one shouldn't take a while. Just maximum of 2 minutes. Spelling. Yeah, you actually patient. That's a shell. Shell is mostly taking time. Yeah, I sure you still have data. Who else is following the process? Another person following the process. Henry,
I
Henry, are you following the
Yes, I
process?
am, but mine is displaying a different thing from the start. So I'm actually waiting for it to be done. So I would we talk about it. Mine,
Is it based on the
sorry, mine is showing.
is it based on the
Sorry.
is it based on the packages?
Yes, mine is showing choosing a setup type, like it's showing server only, client only, full, custom. So I don't really know, but Lillian's on didn't.
Click on custom. Click on custom. I understand what you're saying. Click on custom.
Okay, and next, okay, it's showing my SQL servers, applications, documents. I mean documentation.
All those things that we're showing here, Abi.
Yes, but in a different form. Like I don't really know how to
I
explain.
will let me finish it. I think Lillian was almost done.
No problems.
All right. So click on next. All right, next. Next. Execute. This is just part of the configuration process. And click on finish. Next. Execute. Finish. Next. Finish. All right. Actually, I was expecting something, but it seems okay. Close it, close it. Close it and search for a workbench. Search for workbench in your system. All right, open the workbench. All right, click on local instance. All right, good. You can stop sharing. Yours is good to go. Harry, share screen. Harry, you can share your screen. Okay, I'm sharing. The screen is coming up. Can't see it yet, but it's coming up. I'll just join this. Okay. All right. All right, let's see what's up. Okay. First, okay, you know what? Install all included mice. You know what? Click on full. Click on full. Let's just install everything. Yeah, just click on full. Click on next. It's going to install everything. Workbench, router, blah blah blah. Just execute. So from here, you know the remaining process is just
Yes.
so it's not that one.
All right. No problem.
Christian, are you following down or you want to do yours later?
Okay, I'll use the recorded video to install mine.
I know. What about you? Are you using the recorded video?
Yeah, but I might have downloaded another one.
You delete it, and if it's not the same, then use the recorded video and correct it. Do you understand? Okay, so now everybody has the workbench. You guys are going to drop your email on the chat. I'm going to send you guys the files. You see all these, I'm going to send you guys a database. I'm going to send you SQL store, invoicing, inventory, and HR. You are going to be using this database. I'll send you the scripts. You just run it and you're good to go. Now let me show you how you're going to run the scripts. Let me show you how you're going to run the scripts. Let me share my screen and show you. I thought I was sharing my screen. So I'm going to send you guys a couple of scripts, and you guys are going to use it to create this 4 database: store, invoicing, inventory, HR. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this database. I'm going to drop this schema. I'm going to drop this schema so that I would do the installation, or I'll run the script right here in class so that everybody sees, so that when you're doing yours, it wouldn't be that difficult. All right, so when I send those files for you, this is what you need to do. Let me close all these things first. All right, when I send the files to you, you click, when you open this workbench, right? You click on file here. Before I continue, Henry and any other person that is going to encounter this thing during installation. During installation, at some point, it may require you to, I think Lillian did not require that password because she upgraded, and I think the latest version does not require password. So if for any reason you are installing and it requires you to enter a password, it will require you to enter the password and confirm the password. Please enter your own password, any password you want, but make sure you don't forget that password, because that password would give you access to the workbench, right? So whatever password you use during installation, make sure you write it down. When you want to open your workbench, and you see how Lillian opened her workbench and clicked on local instance, When you click on that local instance, it's going to require you to put that password. So please don't forget the password. That is if yours requires you to put password during installation. Okay, now let's move on. So when you open your workbench, you probably are not going to have this files. This is what you might see. This is how your workbench is going to look like. Maybe this is what it's going to look like. These three icons here are controlling the three parts of the screen. These parts, the down part, so the right, bottom, and left, right? Now you see this blue, the first one here to the far right. If you click it, it's going to close down this part. See this section here, it's going to close down this. So if I click it, it will toggle it off. If I click it, it toggles this backward, right? So that section, you don't need it. Then the bottom section here is where you're going to be seeing the output of your code when you execute your script. If you want to toggle it off for the meantime, you can click on the middle icon, it toggles it off. If you want to toggle it on, you toggle it on, off, on, like that. If it's gray, then it's off. If it's blue, then it's on. Then the left part is where you're seeing your schemas as your database. You don't need to toggle that one off. But if you want, you can click on the one to the left, it toggles it off and toggles it back on. All right. So that's basically, if you want to execute your script here, there's an execute button up here. This button that looks like a flash. You click on that button and you execute your. If you click on this button, it's going to execute from line 1 all the way to the end. But if I just want a specific section, I will just highlight that section and execute. All right. But if you don't click on, if you don't highlight any section and you just click on execute, it's going to automatically execute from line 1 all the way to the end. Okay. But we're going to talk about those ones in depth later. Now, how are you going to execute the script I'm going to send to you? Click on File. You go down to Open SQL Scripts. You click on File, you go to Open SQL Scripts. You click on it, it takes you to your computer system. Then you go and select the file wherever you have it. For mine, I have it in my, if I go to classes and I go to Graph data, I go to SQL classes, I go to database files. Now this is the file that I'll send to you. I'm going to send you guys this first one, create database 1. I click on it and I click on open. It will open the script, right? Everything here. This script will create the SQL store data. In fact, it's going to create all the database, right? But there are other scripts. Assuming that one did not work, I'm going to send you a couple of other ones. If I click on Open SQL Scripts, I'm going to send you the individual databases one by one. HR, inventory, invoicing, and stock. So assuming this one did not work for you, then you can use this one separately. All right. But let's see, this one should actually work. So I'm going to click on execute to run everything. Now, if you're looking down here, you see it's showing you green, showing you that the script. And if you look at some of them are not working, but it only should show red if it doesn't work. Now, you need to give this thing a time. You need to give it some time because there are a whole lot of codes to execute. You need to give it at least 2 minutes to execute all the tables and make sure that everything, all the records are being entered. Do you understand? Give it at least 2 minutes. Give it at least 2 minutes. I think it should get to 166. That's the last table, which is products. All right. So when it gets to 166, you can now check. You can check, right? How do you check if the thing is successful? If you look here, you're not going to see it. All you need to do is click on this refresh button here. You click on that refresh button, it will refresh and you see the database, the tables. the SQL store. Look at it here, right? And these are the tables. Let's check out the customers. The customers' records are complete, 10. Check out the other item notes. That one is complete. Check out the other items, complete. Check out the other statuses. Check out the orders. Check out the products. And finally, check out the shippers. They're all complete. All right. Then you go to invoicing. Invoicing says table fetching. That means it's not done refreshing. You need to keep refreshing until this table comes up. Now you go to inventory, it's still fetching the tables. You go to okay, that's invoices. You go to inventory, still fetching the table. Go to HR, still fetching the table. Now this thing is probably going to take a while. Like I said, 2 minutes, 3 minutes max before all the records and tables will be created successfully, right? So you keep clicking on refresh. Now, sometimes refresh may not work. All you need to do is you can close down this workbench, review changes, close down the workbench, and open it again. That's after you must have waited for a couple of minutes, right? Maybe 2-3 minutes. Then you reopen the local instance again. Then again, once again, you can refresh. Then you can now start checking. So as you can see, invoicing is here now. I click on the invoicing, I see all the tables, right? And their records. If I go to inventory, I see all the tables. I think inventory just has a single table. Then I go to store. Okay, obviously store has all the tables. I go to HR. HR has 2 tables. Did you see? So when you run it, give it like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You refresh. If you don't see all the tables and it says table fetching, close your workbench, reopen the workbench, click on refresh, and you're going to see all your tables created. All right. So these create database scripts should be able to execute and create all the tables. But if you're experiencing challenges, maybe when you open the workbench the second time and it's still not showing, all you need to do is watch. The ones that are not showing, let's say assuming HR is the one that is not showing, right click on it and drop schema. Drop the schema and click on drop now. It deletes it. Then what you do is you now click on file, open SQL script, and specifically open what? Create DB HR. Open it, then run the script. This one is going to work. When you refresh, you see the HR and the tables will be created. Must, right? That is if the create database is giving you problem for some tables. Those tables that are giving you, those databases that are giving you, there are 4 databases: HR, inventory, invoicing, and store. So any of them that's giving you issue, even after multiple refresh and reopening your workbench, you're not still seeing it. First of all, drop the schema. When you drop it, go and open the individual database. Like I said, I'm going to send you the individual databases. Open that particular one, the scripts for that particular database, and execute it. All right? If you execute it, then it has a lesser script to execute. Then it's going to do it very fast, and you're going to get your tables or your database and tables, whatever. Does anyone have any question? I think these are the only possible errors that you might encounter when you are trying to install these database files that I'm going to send to you. All right. So these database files, this is what you're going to be using for practice, and also the classes. I'm going to talk to the instructor. He's going to be using this for the queries. When you get to query language, this is what you're going to be using to create queries. All right. Now, for the data definition language, that's the design part. That's the first thing we are going to do. You guys are how many are you guys in this class? You guys are 6. I mean, yeah, 6. So you're going to share yourself into 2, group of 2. You can randomly choose your team members. Anyhow you want to choose your team members. I'll talk to James to split you guys into 2. The project on that ERD, you guys are going to do it in twos, like 2-2. If you look here, you can see that this is a sample of the project that my students have done before. Let me show you guys. So you're going to do it in group of 2. Go to ERD. You can see general, you can see projects. These assignments. Group A, Group B, Group C. So you guys are going to share yourself into 3 groups of 2 each. That's how you're going to do the project. After you must have done the practice for DQ, for the ERD and everything, you split yourself into 2. So you can maybe start now and start splitting yourself. Maybe at the end of the day, choose your teammates. That's how you're going to do the project. All right. So by the grace of God, I'm going to handle this the next class. The next class should be, am I going to be down on Wednesday? By the grace of God, I should be down on Wednesday. You guys are free on Wednesday. We're going to have our next class on Wednesday. Then we start the entity relationship diagram proper. That's where we're going to start from, the database definition language. Okay. Any question? Any question? You now have your workbench. You're ready to start writing your codes. The draw.io. I've already showed you guys how to access it. Just type draw.io to access it. Then another thing I've not said. For your group, choose your group members yourself. Share yourself into 2 groups. What else? What else haven't I said? I think that's it. Does anyone have any question before we call it a day? Any question?
We'll have more questions when we begin our class. Don't worry.
No problem. Please, if you can be writing it down, that's a way of not forgetting, so that when we get to the next class, you can just bring out your list of questions and start asking. Right? So like I said, in the next class, you're going to start from data definition language. And wherever I stop this week, your James is going to pick up from there. Right? But at least today I've elaborated on this database. You guys now understand why you are actually learning database and the type of database you're learning. Every basic concept you need to know about database and SQL. So I believe everybody is clear on that. Okay, so that would be it for today. Please drop your email. Christian, you want to say something? Go on.
Yes, I was saying about the recorded video. Please don't forget to drop it.
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Thank you.
Your email, please drop your email on the